Hello YouTube! I am Lightly Salted and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the continuing adventures of U96. You'll recall in the last episode we had put into the port of Bergen, and I'm interested to see what the leading officer will provide us for missions. Okay, we've got Patrol Sector AF. We could pick up an additional leader. The Norwegian Sea may provide a little more traffic than our last encounter down here. It's possible. AB up in the Greenland Sea. Again, we could pick up another leader type. And the battleship Nelson was recently seen in this area. Now that is very interesting to me. Espionage at Belfast Harbor. It's a T3 mission. We just did that one. Another engineer. I can see where it could come in handy from time to time. My feeling is that Sector AB is where I want to head. I'd like to see if we could find a Nelson. That would be fantastic. The additional leader, I'm not sure if I'll make use of, but, well, it's there. The first thing I'd like to do is get into HQ and see what we can go ahead and research. In the last playthrough, batteries were causing me some serious problems. I tended to run out of battery fairly quickly on my hunting missions. I'm thinking accumulators will be the way to go. This is going to require an engineer, of course, and it's a 12-day. So we'll go ahead and jump into management, and we'll have Mr. Watcher hop off for us. And accumulators, Mr. Watcher, go ahead and get started on that, please. Thank you. Alright, let's go ahead and do some resupply. Additionally, I would like a vacation, please. So, like in the last one, I would ordinarily lean towards the French Chateau, but again, discipline seems to be sorting itself out. If you tuned in the last episode, discipline was falling and rising continuously, and I never seemed to have any problems with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick the Bavarian Village, and take the slower fatigue rate. Alright, we're off duty. Let's go ahead. Alright, our research has completed. Thank you, Mr. Watcher. Let's go ahead and make sure we put you back on the boat. It would be terrible to leave you behind. And we will take this opportunity to upgrade the ship. So we know we picked accumulators. We'll just select it here. And accumulators 1. We have more than enough money to pay for it, so we're not too worried about that at all. Alright, let's continue with our days off. Fantastic. And Mr. Watcher, since I did place him back on board, was able to pick up that additional XP. Okay, everybody seems to have all the kit I require of them. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and plot a course. Get us on out into open waters. And luckily there is a checkpoint to unlock, so we'll be doing that on our way into our patrol sector. Alright, Mr. Oldorp is on his engines. Mr. Hagnall, to the navigation station, please. And if you don't mind, crew, all ahead full. Just a fantastically pretty game. Alright, as we make our way out into open waters, I'd like to take a look at the management side of the house again. So, an idea that I've been experimenting with a little bit offline, and some members in the comments have mentioned, I'm thinking the way to go here is 2 shifts, not 3. Navies around the world tend to call this a port and starboard shift. It's essentially an A crew and a B crew. So what I plan to do is just simply eliminate the night shift. Yes. Okay, and some tips that I've gained through the comment section. Unless I specifically add sailors by name to these shifts, this number does not actually matter all that much. This is how many the game thinks I would like, but it's not guaranteed to be this number at any given time of day. So what I plan to do is just randomly take... Oh dear. Mr. Derek Moss was our coward from the last campaign. Oh, I should have taken a look at that and gotten him off my boat. Oh well. Okay, we are going to add 1, 2, 3, Hoffman, Vogel, Keller, Now this takes some doing because, again, the game will allow you to pick the same people multiple times, so you've got to keep checking to make sure you're not doubling up on your names here. Okay, so that's 9 sailors for the morning shift. I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the evening. Alright, unless I've messed something up completely, that's 9 names per crew. So let's go ahead and make sure they are scheduled correctly. I would like crew 1 to work from midnight to 11, at which point the evening shift will take over. Alright, now we have a balanced shift from 12 to 12 and 12 to 12. Mr. Graf coming online at 7 still makes sense to me. I think what I'll go ahead and do is pair our radio operator with the captain. So now, Mr. Oldorp, I'm going to have him begin his day at 7 p.m. And I will marry the shift to Mr. Hagnow to ensure I maximize my fuel consumption. Mr. Watcher. Mr. Watcher is a bit of an odd job for me. I think what I'll do is I'll have him work opposite of Mr. Oldorp. So he'll be on the same shift as our skipper and our radio. I also think I may stagger Mr. Osterman very slightly. I'll have him work 4 hours, take 4 hours off, and then work 4 hours. I'd like to keep him as fresh as I can for his work on the hydrophone when necessary. Alright, we've split the crews in A and B. We've rejigged our management a little bit here. Take a look at our tasks. Our tasks were giving me a little bit of a hassle in the last run-through. I want them on the engines first and foremost. I think I want them on power distribution at the same vein as the engines. The valves. Valves I'll turn to an 8. Valves will share... valves are going to share the same number as power distribution. Alright, we were having some serious difficulties with the depth steers in the last play, so I'm going to change these to 7s. I'll change cleaning to 6s. Observation I'm going to turn down to 5s. All around. And we'll leave cooking at a 4. Okay, let's see how this new managing system is going to work for us. Alright, Mr. Hagnow is awake. Should he be awake? It is 9 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Hagnow should be asleep. Okay, Mr. Hagnow... okay, go to sleep, Mr. Hagnow. Mr. Hagnow, go to sleep. There you go, okay. We get Mr. Watcher some help on the engines. We'll turn down to speed 3. And that'll give us a usage of 8.7 liters per kilometer, or 4 units per minute. Skipper, let's get you some help. Now, there's still going to be some micromanaging involved due to my playstyle, because when they change shifts, I'm going to want to be changing their speed. Because when the next shift takes over, when Mr. Oldorp and Mr. Hagnow jump up and do their thing, I'm going to want to change to speed 4, so that's something I still have to keep an eye on. Mr. Osterman is simply doing nothing. Should he be doing anything at 9 a.m.? Mr. Osterman. Mr. Osterman should be working. Okay. Mr. Osterman, could you work, please? Thank you. It's been pointed out to me that if this little orange circle exists down here on his icon, apparently that indicates that he will continue to do that until I give him a new tasking. Which means I'm going to have to keep an eye on the captain, watch out for when he goes to sleep, and I'll have to put Mr. Osterman in bed at that time in the hopes that he will pick up the schedule properly. So we'll have to see how that works out. Alright folks, I'm going to throw in some time compression here, and with any luck, I will see you in the Norwegian Sea. A quick interesting note, apparently 10 of my sailors are on duty. There should only be 9. So that tells me that my officers here may be using 1 extra body than is required. Let's go ahead and turn down Mr. Graf's. 8 of 18 are on. And we're still getting a -1 from discipline here. So it should be 9. I'm thinking the 9th body is probably standing by to do power station things. So let's go ahead and try that out. So if I make sure I don't have any officers selected, let's try turning on the ventilator and see who heads for it. Again, Mr. Hagnow is going for the ventilator. I'm very confused. Very, very confused. Mr. Hagnow, please stop. I'm doing something wrong. I must be doing something wrong. What am I missing? Oh, shoot. We had a reputation point we could have spent. Oh, I missed that. Next port. 8 of 18 on duty. It should be 9. What is the 9th body doing? Is the 9th body idle? I'm not sure what that 9th body is. Have I messed up here and added somebody twice? I don't think I have. It makes it a little difficult because all of the names are very, very similar. A lot of them share last names. I don't think I programmed this incorrectly. If somebody can see this, if somebody can pause and let me know later on that I messed something up, please do. Okay, back to getting to the hunting grounds. All right. All of my helpers left Mr. Watcher. Okay, the evening shift took over. So that means I have to re-add personnel. And I can't. Alright. Okay, I can't add personnel to Mr. Watcher here. Nor can I add personnel here. I may have broken the game. What if I tried to add them here? Let's add him and, I don't know, him. Okay, now he's got help again. Except only David Peters is... So, Mr. Mayor is working the diesel engines by himself, and David Peters is assigned to Mr. Watcher. Okay, so what if we take away both of them? Okay, who's online right now? Let's try Dieter Moss and Dietrich Luther. Let's try those two. Dietrich Luther and Dietrich Moss. Okay. Now who's helping him? Alright. 6 of 18 are currently on duty. And those two personnel are working the engines. Still not sure about this. I feel like a crew management system, you should be able to set it at the dock, and then it just works. If I have to continuously jump in and out of menus to change bodies, I'm not sure. Okay, the skipper went to sleep, so Mr. Osterman should be going to bed as well. Okay. Okay, now I can add personnel to Mr. Oldorp, no problem. And personnel, and one person to Mr. Hagnow. I want an additional person working with Mr. Hagnow. Okay, so I can only add one. I'm not getting the additional 10% benefit to the navigation, so there is no one helping him. Mr. Luther, Mr. Schmidt are both observing. Okay, Mr. Dietrich Luther is helping Mr. Hagnow. So I guess I have to add a person. This is a night shift. How about Stefan Mayer and Walter Koss? Stefan Mayer and Walter Koss. Okay, now he's got help again. So what it's looking like to me is that not only do you have to program the shifts, the schedules, the taskings, the priorities, but you also have to, on top of having bodies available for the shift, for the time of day you want them to work, You also need to specifically add specific sailors to the officers in order to get the jobs done that you want to get done. And now I can only give one... Now I can only give one person to my captain. This is a little frustrating. It's a little frustrating. Okay, who's currently working with the skipper? Peters and Keller are on observation. Mayer is working with the captain. So let's go to the captain, I suppose, and put on some morning shift people. Maybe it's because I've got it swapping in the middle of the day. I don't know, just 2 sailors, please. I don't really care who they are. Alright. Okay. Alrighty. Let's just get up to the hunting grounds. I'm sure there are people out there furiously writing in the comments that I'm just missing something that's more than likely very, very simple. And now all my bodies have left them. Okay. Again, my apologies. This level of management it was not something... Whoa. What's going on with navigation? Navigation is all over the map here. The gyro compass is on. Navigation dropped that far in a single shift? We had playthroughs where navigation barely moved the entire time. Is navigation bugged? Does it work, and does it work sometimes and not all times? I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. But that... We did not run into that in the last few patrols. Normally the navigation was draining extraordinarily slowly. And the gyro compass is on, so it shouldn't be dropping too quickly, right? Alright, we unlocked that checkpoint. And we've reached our patrol sector. Now, our skipper has come online. Our radioman has not. Did I not program them to come online at the same time? I thought I did. Mr. Osterman should have jumped out of bed at 7 a.m. What's going on there, Mr. Osterman? Don't feel like working today? Taking the day off? Alright, our patrol sector is reached. So, like I often do, I'm just going to pick a direction and begin hunting. So we're going to go ahead and get us down to periscope depth. Who's going to run for the valves, I wonder? Anyone? Okay, looks like we had ordinary crew do that. That's a change. That's a positive change. I'm happy with that. Mr. Osterman, can you go ahead and change us to blue lighting for me before you jump on the hydrophone, please? I'd like to conserve some oxygen where possible. Skipper, you only need 1 helper on the observation scope. Mr. Osterman, let's get you onto the big ears with some help. Alright, depth seems to be working out a little bit better than the last patrol. Not really, really better, but better. So that leads me to believe that turning up the priority for the depth steers was the correct choice. Hey, fish! Fishies! Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and drop speed down to 1. And get ourselves some nice range on the hydrophone and see what we can come up with. Alright, oxygen is in short supply, so that's 1 hunt. That was uneventful. The game is often telling me I'm missing workers. I don't know what else to do. I've given them 9 bodies. I'm using 4, I understand, but there should be 5 people available to do their jobs. Alright. Okay. So, we'll do that. Mr. Osterman, you may as well quickly jump on the radio for me, see if HQ has anything to say, and if not, you'll be heading off to bed with the skipper. And we'll carry on for a bit until we've recharged our batteries, and we'll try again. Alright, batteries are charged. We'll change direction, perhaps. We'll just skirt the southern perimeter of our patrol zone and see what we can get done there. Alright, let's take us back down to PD. None of the officers made a move to do that, so that's a positive. It means the crew is doing something. Oxygen again. Alright, YouTube, I'm thinking changing ports was not a good call. I'm something to the tune of 4 or 5 hunts in at this point, and I'm picking up nothing at all. I'm going to keep at it. At the very least, we're going to eat up this these kilometers. And yeah. So something I've learned from trying to deal with the shifts. Much like the time compression, it leaves me sort of locked to this screen. In order to make any kind of progress, you of course need time progression, or time compression rather, and it's keeping me in map view all the time. I can't. I'm managing everything here. Just click, 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 so on and so forth. So, if that isn't the gameplay for you, I would suggest not using realistic time compression and crew management, because I'm staring at a map all the time. It's not ideal. And again, since I still haven't figured out the nuances of the personnel attached to my officers, vice the personnel who are actually on shift, I'm having to add and remove personnel as required. It's the same amount of work as not using enhanced, and it feels less fun. So that, again, my opinion, folks. That's just the way I feel about it. If this works for you, all the power to you. Go ahead and throw your scheduling and your entire setup. Take a screenshot, send it. Get on my Discord. Let me know. At me on Twitter or something. Because for the life of me, no matter what I seem to do, I cannot nail this. I cannot get this nailed to the wall. I cannot, and it seems like I have to add crew to someone else before I can add it to the person I want to add it to. I don't really understand what's happening here. This feels like a bug. Okay, I've dove and come back to the surface more times than I can count at this point. Something to the tune of 8, 9. I can pick up nothing on the hydrophones, so I'm going to burn out the last of the kilometers on the surface, I think. Just doing it over and over and over, click, 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 so on and so forth. Drive me a little batty, so we're just going to run the clock out at the surface, and hopefully we pick up something on the horizon. Alright, we've done the entire patrol with nothing. Nothing at all. So we're going to head on down this way. And I'll take a couple more kicks at the hydrophone, and with any luck, this won't be the most boring episode I've ever made. Alright folks, we've been defeated. Hunt after hunt after hunt. I've been playing the game for almost an hour, bobbing up and down, going from periscope to 30 meters to back to the surface to recharge the batteries over and over and over, and we've come up empty with every attempt. So, yeah. Cue the sad music of coming home empty-handed. Alright, Skipper, let's go tell the leading officer that we failed in our mission. Okay. Let's get real for a second. Folks, this build is interesting. This build has an awful lot of new content. It has some really interesting new mechanics. I'm not sure if the mechanics are ready. I mean, this game was not intuitive to begin with. Without a proper tutorial, it took me quite a while to figure out how to make this game work. In previous builds, 125, 126. So I understand that the learning curve is high. I know that. The management system, and again, unless I'm missing something that's so glaringly obvious that it's just I can't see the forest for the trees, doesn't make sense to me. No matter how many crew I tell to be on, I get different numbers. I'll have 6 working, 8 working, 10 working, 11 working. Trying to make sure that my officers have the required crew to get their buffs. It's not working out. It's just not working out. I'm having to spend 99% of my time on this screen, because this is where I have access to time compression. And, you know, most of this game is traveling to and from your sectors. And even when you're coming up on convoys and making attack runs, etc., you tend to use time compression a fair bit. I wouldn't mind it so much in battle scenarios where, you know, you've got your little red icon showing you where enemy ships are. I wouldn't mind it there. But having to play the entirety of my beautiful, beautiful game on this screen is not ideal. I've told them I want 9 sailors. I've told them I want 9 sailors. I've added the specific 9 to each, and yet they do not work. They don't work like that. And I understand that the game says that the crew needs to be doing these things as well. I get that, 100% I understand. At the same time, I'm not sure that I care. When I want 2 personnel on my skipper, keeping a lookout, to increase my sight bubble, and I want 2 personnel on my engines to keep fuel consumption down, and I want a person on my hydrophone or radio or whatever, then I want access to those personnel. The only other thing I can think to try is just make 1 shift. Just 1 solid shift of personnel. So delete the evening shift altogether and have them work round the clock and see what that does to morale. If you gave them the tasking to do anything in that time frame, one would assume they would go to sleep when they're tired and work when they're required. So that's the only other thing I can think to do to solve these issues that I keep having with the crew management. I guess long story short is, if I'm going to go to that extreme, to eliminate it down to 1 shift, which I can pick a pool of personnel from whenever I feel like it, then why do I have shifts at all? Then why have the management function running at all? I guess is where I'm trying to get at. So I think the next episode you all see is going to be a new ship. I think I'm going to load a new save. I have an idea of where I want a series to go, and playing with the management over and over and over is not it. That's not what I want to do right now. I'd like to play the game. I would like to enjoy playing the game. I can tell you that so far from my personal experience, maybe later on in time, like maybe in the 1942, 43, 44, somewhere in that area, like we're still in 1941, maybe going to these ports will be useful. As of 1941, I have had no luck in this area, from running right up the English Channel all the way up the coast and straight across. I ran into a single warship convoy just bouncing around over here. Not a single freighter at this time, not in the North Sea, not in the Norwegian Sea, nor in the Greenland Sea. So from what I can see right now, unless they make another hot fix of the game, stay away from the northern sectors. It's just a dead zone. There's nothing going on here. All right, with that all said, go ahead and hit me up in the comments if you can somehow magically fix this for me. That would be fantastic. Jump on in the Discord. Let's chat about it a little bit. Again, maybe I'm just doing something wrong. Maybe I'm expecting too much out of it. But yeah, I'm going to say here now that the next upload is going to be with a new ship. I think we'll start in the Mediterranean. To change things up a little bit. I don't want to keep making content I don't want to just continuously make content for the Bay of Biscay. That being said, the Bay of Biscay is where the most fun is to be had. You've got all these bases to deal with, and there's just a huge, big old wide ocean. And we've learned in 126 together that the shipping routes all through here are just fantastic when it comes to finding things to sink. So, okay, will we continue on with U-96 in the Bay of Biscay? I'm not sure. I know that there are other ships we could choose when you start a new game on the harder difficulties in different years that still operate out of the Bay of Biscay, and maybe that's going to be the way to go. So, unfortunately, this is going to be my last look at this particular iteration of U-96. My next game, we're going to be going back to dynamic time compression. I want to be able to stay on this screen. I want to watch the sunrise and the sunset and see the storms, and that's what I want. I want to do that. And the crew management, again, unless somebody's got a bolt of lightning type idea here that's just going to fix all my woes for me, I'm gone. I'm out of that. I'm done with that. So I'm just going to turn that off for the next one. I am interested to point out in further videos what kind of differences there are over 126 vice 127 without the crew management. Are there still differences? Do things operate differently than they did in 126? I would like to see that, and I am looking forward to pointing out any differences I find. Okay, folks, that all being said, I'm going to end the episode here. I've been Lightly Salted. Thanks for tuning in. Bye now.